we put Art up at the podium?
Yeah.
Art starts every week.
Art's got a lot to answer
For
for.
my, well, ain't that the truth? Good. All right. Thanks again, everybody, for coming. Recapping the game. Obviously, it was a great college football game. It was a great atmosphere, tremendous rivalry game. And, you know, again, credit to North Carolina and the way they played. I thought both teams made a ton of plays. I thought it was back and forth all night. And, you know, and unfortunately for us, they made one more play than we did, and they were able to get the win. I thought offensively, we played the game kind of the way we wanted to. We knew we had to be efficient. We knew we had to kind of play the clock a little bit. You know, we were going to be aggressive in how we called the game, but we were going to try to take as much time in between as we possibly could and just try to limit the amount of possessions. And I thought we did that really well. Obviously, had a lull in the third quarter. You know, we had a drive to start the third quarter that got derailed by a penalty. We had the second drive got derailed by a TFL and kind of set us behind the chains. And then, you know, the 4th and 1 stop was critical. And then I thought we responded really well, though. And I thought the way we finished the game offensively, we gave ourselves a chance to win it. Defensively, I thought, you know, we played well in spurts. I thought there were times where, you know, we did control it a little bit. You know, there was a time in the second quarter where we made some stops in a row, and then certainly the response to the 4th and 1 that they stopped us on, our defense going out there and getting that 4 and out was critical. We came right back and got a turnover again, which I thought gave us a chance to run the game out. You know, and then I thought we got done in a couple areas on defense. You know, our red zone touchdown conversions were really bad. They got down there 5 times and scored 4 touchdowns, and that was obviously a huge part of the result. I didn't think we did a really good job on third down of getting off the field, and then obviously the 2-minute drives, both ending in touchdowns, was critical. And so I thought situationally we could have done a much better job. Special teams wise, you know, it was kind of a somewhat of a boring night. You know, I think both kickers kicked almost every ball through the end zone touchback wise. You know, we got the one nice net punt from Porter. And then obviously we had the disappointing kick at the end, and I think that was, you know, there was a little bit of a mishap in the exchange part of it that I think threw the rhythm of that kickoff. And so not something that's happened a lot, but it happened in that bad moment, and so, you know, that's something that was really critical. And so that was kind of the recap, and now kind of moving on to an extremely talented, you know, Miami football team. I think defensively this is by far and away the best unit we've seen all year. They're extremely athletic. They're very long. They're playing very aggressive. They're creating all kinds of havoc with TFLs and sacks. They're doing a great job of stopping in the run, and so they're going to be a handful for us. You know, the front four kind of stands out across the board. Their ability to penetrate, rush the passer, stop the run. They're kind of doing it all really well right now. And so, you know, we're going to have our hands full offensively this week for sure. And then, you know, offensively, I think the quarterback, Van Dyke, is really starting to get comfortable in the system. You know, he's had his best 2 weeks. The last 2 weeks, they've been banged up all around him. And so obviously their depth has been tested, but certainly stand strong. You know, they've continued to roll out wideouts as each wideout has gone down, and they still look very long and very athletic, and they can run around and make plays out there. The tight end pool is very deep. They've played 4 different tight ends at times this year, and all of them seem to be very similar, tall, long, athletic, and can make plays. You know, and then up front, they've been able to kind of establish the run game the way they want to, and certainly protect the quarterback. And so we're going to have our hands full going down there for a 12:30 kick on Saturday. But, you know, we'll get our guys up, and we'll go down there, and we'll play our best football, and, you know, hopefully come away with a win. So that's kind of where we're at. Questions?
We talked about it a little bit the other night, but your offensive line playing with less depth than it had all year, but you're still running the ball at a high level. How did the guys recover from all that extra work they got? And when you watched on film, did you see that they did a pretty good job there?
Yeah, I thought we did a really good job in the run game. I thought we were able to get the edges the way we wanted to. You know, we were very impressed by North Carolina's interior defensive tackles, and even their edge guys, but just the way they played their edge guys, we felt like there was an ability to kind of get around the 4, and we tried to do that as much as we could. We didn't really want to run a ton in between the tackles. We were trying to get to the edge as much as we could, and I thought in the first half we did a really good job of that. I thought in the third quarter they kind of did some things to take that away, and then I thought we responded well in the fourth quarter, finding ways to get back out there. And so, I thought we did a really good job blocking up front, and you know, credit again to Coach Cushing. I mean, he's got those guys ready to play every week, and I think I saw we're second in the league now in rushing yards per game, and we're establishing the line of scrimmage the way we want to as a physical football team. So happy about that.
Mike, each of the last 2 games, penalties have been a key determinant in Duke not pulling out the win. Against Carolina, each of your co-captains had a critical penalty called against them. I know you and your staff have looked at film, see the practices. Is there a theme? What's going wrong on the penalties, and can you fix it?
No, I mean, it's not a theme. I think the biggest thing is learning how to control our emotions in game. Again, you talk about in action penalties, and then penalties that you can really control. I thought Georgia Tech, we made 2 stupid penalties, right? The after the play cheap shot that pulled us out of field goal range, and then the late hit on the quarterback. Like, those are just plays that we can't make. In the game, you got Jacob Monk running 20 yards on a screen play, trying to get around a nickel. The nickel kind of slips underneath him, and he kind of puts a hand on his back, right? Like, that's obviously he's got to do that better, and he can't commit that penalty, but that's a different kind of penalty. Shaka's running the quarterback down on the final drive of the game, and he sticks his arm out to try to get him down and happens to get the face mask accidentally, right? It's a critical penalty. You've got to coach it better. You've got to do it better, but that doesn't feel the same. And so I didn't feel like coming out of that game we made undisciplined penalties. I thought the illegal shift was probably the one that I look at and really, really regret. I thought we should have done a better job of coaching that one. Sometimes in the emotions of the game, things happen, and we've just got to do a better job of controlling it. And I told the guys this too. We got to remember, we haven't been in these environments in these games in a long time. It's been a long time since Duke has played games in the fourth quarter in these types of matchups to have success. And so it feels different, and they've got to learn how to still play the right way through feeling a little bit different. I think that's part of the learning curve of where we're at as a program right now.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that. Is that you took over a team that was losing by 20, 30, 40 points every game, and you got to the point where they're in every game, but that last drive you need to finish to wrap it up, that last stop you need to make to wrap it up. You haven't been able to do that consistently. Is that the next step this program has to take?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's just learning how to win down the stretch. And it's interesting because, like, the fight is so strong, right? And I said this to the guys too. Like, this is something that stood out to me just kind of doing a recap this weekend. All 3 games that we've lost, there was a point in the game where the game really should have been over, and we figured out a way. Against Kansas, there was an onside kick that they recovered that should have ended the game. We went out and got a 3-and-out, got the ball back, and then drove the ball almost all the way down the field. Against Georgia Tech, if you remember, we got it to 2013. We got the big punt return. We went out on offense, and we went 4-and-out, and that should have been game over. And then we got to stop, and we got the ball back, and we took the 2-minute drive down and got it into overtime. And then twice, I thought, in the game against Carolina, I thought, we get stopped on that 4th and 1. They get the ball up 10 and everything going in their favor, and we go out and we get a 4-and-out, and we respond immediately, and we go back and we take the lead, and we get the ball, and we almost give ourselves a chance to win it. And so I just think the fight is really strong. We've just got to learn how to make those winning plays the right way, and maybe we're straining or trying a little bit too hard, and we've just got to learn how to handle that better.
You're 14 points away from being 7-0.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah,
we are. I don't know. I don't know how to respond to that.
Yeah, it's just an interesting factoid.
Yep. I'm aware of that.
Yeah.
How does the offensive game plan change from a UNC matchup where it wasn't really a defensive battle, it was more of a shootout too?
Yeah.
Now it's you gotta take those long, lengthy drives and score, but also you're not going to be able to score as much.
Yeah. I mean, I think every game has its own character, and we talk about it going into games. Like, our staff is very well aware of both sides of the ball, special teams, like what it's going to take. We knew last week we were going to have to try to match a really explosive offense, and so we had a lot of things ready on special teams. We had a lot of things ready on offense to try to match that, and then defensively we knew we had to go out there and do the best we can. I think there's other weeks where the matchups are different, and you got to play the game a little bit differently. I know offensively this week it's going to be a huge challenge. We're going to have to try to get a little bit creative. We're going to have to find ways to move the ball, and then field position is going to be critical this week. We're going to have to be able to do a really, really good job controlling field position, because this is not going to be a week where we just go 80 yards every time we get the football, and so we've got to do a really good job with field position.
Like 7 games in with an 8th, how do you feel about this team's depth right now?
Yeah, I mean, it continues to show up. We continue to get banged up. We continue to go out there and perform and execute. And so, obviously everything has the ability to improve and get better, but certainly happy with the way that guys are going out there and stepping up. I thought Jack Burns and Chance Lytle went out and had to start that game and play the duration. They've each started at times, but really had to play, and they both stepped up. We've done it in the backfield. Terry Moore all of a sudden now is springing out there and getting carries and being very productive for us. And Jaquez Moore is, doing more. And obviously Jordan Waters has been there all year and doing a really good job. And so I just think, the depth is stepping up, and that's what we want the program to be about. And, obviously it'll get better and it'll continue to grow over time as everyone gets more reps in what we're trying to do. But happy with what we're doing right now.
I know you talked about in the fall not having preconceived notions based on previous years, but is the depth better than you thought it would be after going through fall?
I think this is what I'll say. Like, the culture is so good in that locker room right now, and the way we're working and the way we're practicing and the way we're training is at such a high level that I think everything is elevating. I think if you would have asked me midway through spring ball, is this what Riley Leonard is going to look like at quarterback? No. But, he just worked. I mean, he worked so hard and got so much better and keeps getting better every time he goes out there, to where now you go out there and you feel like he's going to give you a chance to win every football game you play. And so I think that's kind of happened across our roster. And that's why you don't do the preconceived thing. That's why you don't walk in and assume kids are a certain kind of way. You just you roll out a plan for them and you hope they follow it. And unfortunately, the majority of our kids have followed it, and I think they've seen great results from it.
Look around the stadium and you see the atmosphere that you saw. Granted, there was a lot of Tar Heel fans there, but is that something you dream will be just a weekly event when you guys have home games?
Yeah, I mean, that's what you want college football to be. I mean, college football should be the best gathering place on your campus, and it's where the most amount of people return for a Saturday afternoon, and that's what college football should be about, and Duke should be no different. I think if we do it right, if we run the program right, if we continue to do the things that we're doing, we'll continue to get that type of crowd. And kind of shout out to Chris Alston and his staff. I know Chris is sitting in here, but our game day experience gets better every single time people come, and what we're doing in that area makes it more enjoyable for people to show up, and those things matter, and the product on the field matters, but also the experience people have when they come to the game matters. And what Mary Pat McMahon and that crew did, trying to create a better student experience, has been really important for us. And those things don't go unnoticed by our program, because those things all help us get this thing where we want it to go.
You were talking about your running game. Obviously, the guys up front, you were talking about, they were doing a good job. What about the way the guys are attacking the holes? It's not just a running back either. With Riley breaking out in midfield, like, sometimes the holes are there and guys don't read them right. I mean, the way that your guys are responding in that half of the equation too.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think Trooper Taylor's doing a really good job with our running backs. I think they're running the run game really well. They're making the cuts. They're seeing the cuts. We're starting to get more than what's blocked at times. I think early in the year maybe, or even more in fall camp, I felt like at times we got what was blocked. Now I think we're starting to put a foot in the ground and make some plays. Jordan Waters makes a couple people miss, gets outside, and off he goes for a long touchdown run. Terry certainly did it a couple times, and Quez has done it. And so that's what you want. You want that balance.
As a head coach, especially in a day and age where the running QB is such a big part of college football, you want to protect Riley Leonard, obviously. But how do you balance going from a play where he does a flip in the air after being tackled and somehow walks up and is fine, to running that 74-yard touchdown? I mean, what do you tell him? Do you say when to slide versus going for the big play?
Yeah, all the time we talk about when to slide. Literally all the time. So after he comes off the field doing a flip in the air, we have a nice lengthy conversation about when to slide. But you know, the hardest thing, and this is like we don't call a lot of designed runs for him. You know, obviously the 74-yarder was one, but a lot of it is his improvising on pass plays and trying to make something out of nothing. And he's a competitor, so he's running in a rivalry game towards the goal line, and the competitive juices get going, and he wants to get in. You know, you saw it on the third down at the end, the conversion, where he just lays himself out for the first down. Like, you know, it's very hard to balance the competitive nature that you want in a quarterback with, like, hey, you know, there's times where you got to give up to protect your body. And so he'll get better, and he continues to do it, and he understands it. I think just in the emotions of it all, sometimes he tries to make plays that he wants to be able to make.
How much does that limit your offense, not being able to call RPOs? I mean, I know behind him you don't really have any experience, so you want to keep him healthy, but in an ideal world, he's a really good runner, and it limits your offense not being able to call plays and involve that. I mean,
Yeah, I don't think our offense is limited in the run game at all. I think we've done a really good job running the
I'm talking
ball.
about not being able to utilize Riley more on called runs.
Yeah, I'm saying I don't think we've had a problem running the ball, so I don't, you know, I mean, we don't feel like we have to be able to run our quarterback to be successful. That's the kind of offense we want to be, and he's a weapon that we can use when we need him. You know, we got behind the chains and we were able to call a Q draw against a really short box, and there he goes for 74, you know what I mean? And so you do it in spots, but I just think in general, we want to be able to recruit quarterbacks who have aspirations of going on to the next level and playing in the NFL. And so the offense is always going to be predicated on our throwing game and RPO game and the different things we can do. And then the more athletic the kid is and the more we can run him a little bit, then becomes a weapon for us.
You guys have another quarterback test this weekend against Tyler Van Dyke. How have your guys' past games against people like Jalen Daniels, Drake May prepared you for that?
Yeah, it feels like it's every week, right? It was Brennan Armstrong, it was Jalen Daniels, it was Jeff Sims. You know, there's a lot of talented quarterbacks that you go against, and Tyler's certainly no different. I think, you know, we're getting better each week at executing the pass defense the way we want it. You know, it's just not quite there yet, you know, and so we're continuing to work, and, you know, some of it is fundamental, some of it is technique, some of it is just kind of understanding schematically what we're trying to get accomplished, and it's just different. Like the pass defense is probably the biggest difference philosophically in what we do than what's been done in the past, and so just trying to continue to improve it. But you certainly draw every time you go out there against an explosive offense. You learn things about what you're capable of and how to execute at a high level, and hopefully that carries over into this week.
Is Riley receptive to the slide instructions, or is you're not sure he's listening enough?
No, Riley listens to everything. I mean, but you know, it's hard. You know, you saw, you know, Georgia Tech. There were a couple of times where I thought he slid well, and you know, even there were a couple of plays last night where he got out of bounds when it was appropriate, or Saturday night. And but again, you know, you're running and you see the goal line. It's hard. Those are the two runs that I was really, like, had conversations. The one he got flipped on, and the other one was before Jordan Waters' first touchdown, when he kind of did the dip dive and duck around and took a pop that I didn't think he needed to take either. But you get down there in that tight red zone area and you're near the goal line, and it's not necessarily about him selfishly. Just for the team, he wants to get in the end zone.
You spoke of the dive for the first down, and Riley has this personality of like just a fresh kid. Do you think that really it helps his leadership in the locker room though, when they see that their quarterback head first diving late in the game? Does that just buy him even more?
Yeah,
rep in the locker room?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, players want to rally around a kid who's willing to get bloody with them, but like, Riley's not the kid everybody thinks he is. I keep telling everybody that. Like, he's got a side about him. Like, he's a phenomenal kid, right? He's a Christian kid. He's very strong in his belief. He does a great job in school. He represents this program and this university exceptionally well. But, like, he's a competitor with an edge, you know, and so you put him on a football field, you put him on a basketball court, and you get a really competitive kid. And we've known that. I've known that, figured that out really quick. And I think other people maybe focus on the other sides of his personality and don't think he has that streak in him. But it's there. It certainly is. And I think our kids recognize it. And then, but to your point, yeah, anytime your quarterback does that, anytime your quarterback gets flipped around, like, you see how many of our guys go running over to get him up off the ground every time he hits it, because that's how you galvanize an offense with what he does.
Does he
Any
do a
injury
good-
updates?
What's that?
Any injury updates?
No, Mo's obviously out for the year. I'm trying to go back. Speedy Young will be day-to-day with a lower body deal. We anticipate having him. Jalen Cohen was out there moving around this morning, and so again, hopefully we get him back. He continues to be day-to-day. We continue to bring him out there every day. He's just not quite getting to the point where we feel comfortable with him getting hit. I think he's starting to cut the way we want him to cut and run the way we want him to run. It's just not quite there yet in terms of him being able to take hits. So hopefully we're able to get him back. And I don't think anything else happened in the game.
On the competitiveness of Riley, does he do a good job of hiding it, or is that just us not realizing?
No,
it is?
I think you guys are at a distance a little bit from where it shows up, and so I don't know that he necessarily hides it. I just don't know that you're in the spots where you would see it. That's all.
He takes responsibility for everything that goes wrong to us. It seems like that would be. He never throws his teammates under the bus. It seems like that would play well in the locker room.
Yeah. I think that's we talk a lot. We actually had this conversation this morning. Successful people look in the mirror, and that's where they find their success. And when things don't go wrong, it's real easy to point fingers. It's real easy to say, oh, I did what I could have done if this guy would have done A, B, and C. And I think we've really harped on these guys that the best way, the best path to success is look in the mirror and figure out what you can do better to help us be better the next time we go out there. And I think, Riley certainly embodies that as our leader. And he's always going to be critical of himself and look at the things he could have done better to give us a better chance to win. And I think across the board, our team is like that. I think that's why we're able to keep fighting and keep playing and keep rebounding. You just hear it from him probably a little bit more because he's in those positions. Good. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you.
Yeah, Mac was saying about a week ago, he was having a conversation with